If you want to see that, that's really good. We're talking a lot about grand juries, but Paul wanted to talk to Lionel. I kind of dominated the discussion, I guess, and didn't give Paul enough chance to talk to Lionel. So he had some questions for Lionel. So, Paul, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, I think we've got Lionel. Do we have Lionel, guys, on the line? Yes, good. Okay, we got him on the line. Go for it, Paul.
Yeah, I just wanted to get Lionel's take on how the media reacted to the Ferguson riots, because I was thinking of a situation, imagine if back in April, Cliven Bundy had been shot by cops during that standoff, and white people, or Cliven Bundy supporters in general, had reacted by looting and burning down buildings. Bearing in mind, we had Obama meeting with the Ferguson leaders. We've got an article on Infowars.com right now. Ferguson activist who met Obama faces assault charges. He basically assaulted a security guard as he tried to get into City Hall in St. Louis. So we had Obama meeting with these people. We had Time magazine legitimizing the riots, the looting, the burning down of buildings. Now, I don't think the media reaction would have been in the same context if that situation was reversed and somebody like Cliven Bundy had been shot and his supporters had reacted in the same way that some of the people in Ferguson did. So, Lionel, I mean, you're a prosecutor, but obviously you also study media narratives. So what's your take on what I just said there?
Well, I have been in the media, and Paul, let me just say something to you, sir. How dare you? How dare you bring up discrepancies and disparities in the way the media and society and the law deal with black and white issues? Don't you understand that we can talk about black issues, but not black and white issues, unless the white issue is an indictment? How dare you? That's the reaction. Paul, you and David, but Paul in particular, I believe, brought up the notion of there is an inherent systemic problem with this mentality of a lot of police departments that push this militarization. Let me give you an example. Imagine a new couple goes to a child rearing class, brand new parents, and the first thing out of the instructor's mouth is how to discipline a child, how to spank a child and not leave a mark, when spanking is appropriate, how to spank. Guess what those parents are going to do? Spank. It's this mentality of the police departments. It's this idea that civilians are the enemy. I submit that's the problem. Not that black defendants are. I forget this crimey wild white. So there is this inherent tutorial that's part of it. But Paul, don't you understand when you post these reviews, these scholarly approaches, pointing out the discrepancies and how black violence versus white really isn't true, you're actually a crypto-racist.
No, I've got death threats over it.
Because you told the truth. Listen, gentlemen, let me see if I can break this down. People are stupid. They're not smart. They're dense. You have to be able to handle nuance. You have to be able to handle, years ago, there was a guy on Ed Sullivan, this guy with a stick, who would spin the plate, and another plate, and another plate. And he had 4 or 5 plates going at the same time. We can't do that. This is the American discussion. Hands up, or I can't breathe, or something along those lines. That is it. Focused, microscopic, don't look at any other issues. We're not interested in critical thinking. No, 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 no. It's this one aspect. Let me tell you what it was like last night in New York. I have never, ever seen anything like this. I'm not talking about a pocket full of protesters here. West Side Highway, Brooklyn Bridge, Grand Central, and I don't mean a couple of stragglers. Times Square, it was huge, big, organized. I hear the music.
Yes, hang on. We're going to be right back. We're talking to Lionel. We also have Paul Joseph Watson from the UK. Stay with us. We're talking again about what's going on in New York, what's happening with police brutality. Are we going to have a discussion of the real issues, or are we going to let them distract us with this red herring of racism? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of superoxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
This December marks 20 years that I've been on the air. Kicking off on Cyber Monday and throughout the entire week, we're offering the biggest sales in the history of Infowars.com, celebrating my 20 years on air. And we do it by bringing our listeners the very best high-quality products. Free shipping store-wide on Pro Gun, Made in America t-shirts. High-quality water filtration systems. But not just free shipping. 30% off Super Male Vitality. 20% off all colloidal silver. Buy 4, get 1 free. With your purchase of 1 bottle of DNA Force, you get 2 free bottles of Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, absolutely free, a $60 value. We're also offering 50% off a year membership at PrisonPlanet.tv and upping the number of people that can use each membership to 20. 20 years on air, and InfoWars is celebrating it with the biggest sale we've ever had. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media operation.
Let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun and you can feel it.
I'll show you politics in America. Here it is, right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding up both puppets. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight in Austin. I'm joined by Paul Joseph Watson in the UK and Lionel in New York. And we were talking about excessive police force. I'm going to go back to them in just a moment. Paul's has some questions that he didn't get a chance to ask Lionel yesterday. That's why we're doing this again today, because this is a huge issue. There's a lot of different elements involved in it. So we were only able to touch on a couple yesterday. But I want to tell you before we go back, we have our Cyber Week specials still up at InfoWars Store. We have free shipping store-wide. We have silver back in stock, 20% off. You have free shipping on a limited amount, but it's going to sell out soon. And once it does, we're not going to be able to get it back for probably another 6 weeks or so. We have a super prep pack, which is Silver Bullet and Survival Shield for $15 off. And if you buy 4 silver bullets, you get 1 for free, We also have DNA Force, where you can get 2 bottles of Survival Shield free at a $60 value. You get 30% off all super male and super female products. And of course, we have Prison Planet memberships that are regularly $60, are now only $30 a year. That's 7 months for free. That's only $2.50 a month. That supports our operation there, our bandwidth, supports our reporters, as well as our excellent crew that's there. That's one way that you can get the news every night, and the news last night was excellent. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, you can see parts of that up on YouTube, but if you have a subscription, you can see it when it happens every night, every weeknight at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's go back to this discussion as we were talking about how they're using racism to throw people off the track. I think it's really, excuse me, very much like a red herring. And of course, Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the UK, they've banned, I believe, fox hunting now. But before they did that, the people who didn't like fox hunting would throw the dogs off of the trail by taking a particularly smelly fish, a red herring, and dragging it behind the trail of the fox. So once the dogs hit that spot, that was it. They were done. And so now we've got this particularly stinky thing that we've got a long history about, racism, and they trot that out every time to get us off of the trail of the real fox, which is excessive use of force, the way they're training the police, the rules of engagement that they're giving them, even having them call us civilians. And of course, that's something that's been programmed for a very long time, even going back to Dirty Harry movies. That's the first time I noticed it, was in a Dirty Harry movie when I was a kid, calling people civilians. I thought that's kind of funny, but it's not funny anymore. I'm not laughing now. Gentlemen, go ahead. I'll let you ask any follow-up questions, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, obviously yesterday we covered the Garner case mainly, which, you know, I saw as a travesty of justice. I was called a cop hater for that. You know, lost friends over that. Lost friends over supporting the grand jury decision in the Brown case, got death threats over it, because I looked at the evidence that was publicly available, the 3 autopsies, the eyewitness reports, the eyewitnesses that changed their statements after the autopsies came out, which I thought was crucial, and the threatening behavior towards eyewitnesses before the grand jury investigation even began that came out in the police reports. So I just wanted Lionel, from his legal perspective, to break down from the evidence that's available and ask him if he agreed with the conclusion of the grand jury in the Michael Brown case.
Let me ask you something, Paul. Do you believe racism exists anywhere on the planet?
Yes, absolutely.
Good. If you answer no to that, that's a problem. Number 2, do you think the case of espionage would make sense in the Michael Brown case or in the Eric Garner case? Espionage. Charging the officers, Darren Wilson and Pantaleo, with espionage. Do you think that charge makes sense?
Doesn't make sense to me.
You're a racist. You're a racist. You see, you say espionage, people would say, no, that's ridiculous because there's no evidence of espionage. That's not the right charge. That's what this is about. So what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not saying there's no racism. I'm not saying the Michael Brown case was handled correctly. Now, let's change forums. Paul, let's have a civil case, a civil jury. Now, we're looking at whether money damages should be awarded to the Michael Brown family or the Eric Garner family based upon police negligence. What would you say about that?
I would say that's more reasonable, but given the fact that this civil case in the Trayvon Martin example remains open and seems to be going nowhere, it seems the federal government isn't that interested in pursuing it, either in the Trayvon Martin case or the Brown case.
Now, the civil case in our system, as you know, for example, in this case, you have a number of different tribunals. Let's take Eric Garner. 1, the state of New York in Staten Island, Richmond County, can bring a criminal case, people of the state of New York versus Officer Pantaleo. Okay, that's a criminal charge. That's a first forum. Another possibility is the family. Remember, the state of New York versus, in a civil case, it's the family of Eric Garner versus Officer Pantaleo, the city of New York, the state of New York, whatever, for money damages. The plaintiff is the family. seeking money damages. In a criminal case, the plaintiff, in essence, is the state seeking justice or incarceration. Third tribunal,